Hello, this is Yaakov Kronenberg from Jerusalem, and tonight we'll be doing another class in a series of classes on Leo ascendant and the ruling planet, the sun, in the different signs. Tonight we'll be talking about the sun in Cancer. Now, the sun in Cancer is again an interesting combination. It's an interesting combination for a number of reasons. First of all, that here you have the sun in the sign of the moon, right? The sign of the daylight in the sign of the moon, the nighttime. So there's a certain antithesis between them. And on top of that, when you have Cancer in the 12th, Cancer will fall. The sun in Cancer is going to fall here in the 12th house, which is also a complication, because you don't as a rule, you don't like planets, ruling planets especially, falling in malefics. And here it's not. There's not really strength in being in the sign of Cancer. It's right. The sun is a fire sign. Cancer is a water sign. They don't really go together so much. It's considered what we call peregrine in astrology, neither here nor there. Not exceptionally good, not exceptionally bad. It's just average. And so you don't having it in the 12th house. It can go a whole range of possibilities. Like we always say, one possibility is it could be a very spiritual type of chart. It tends to be unworldly. When you have the ruling planets in 8 and 12, it tends to be sort of can have a tendency to be unworldly, to be interested in the metaphysical, the spiritual realms, religious realms. And so if the person goes in that way, it can be sometimes quite good. A lot of times it can also, it's the house of suffering, the house of secret enemies, imprisonment. We saw a whole range of characters over the classes we've given of people who are having the ruler in the 12th house. For example, we did. I had a long chart on the presidential leaders, and we saw that George Bush had this combination. George Bush Jr. And he had this combination. He managed to be president for 8 years, but he had a difficult, also early life. Even though he was, grew up in wealth and family, one of the most powerful and wealthy families in America. Politically connected families, and he went to the best schools and everything. But in any case, he led a wild life while he was young. He was addicted to alcohol. He had a lot of challenges in his youth, and then he became born again. He met his wife, became born again, evangelical Christian, and he managed to somehow become president of the United States. Right, and he had to fight our enemy, who was chosen president to fight our enemies, our secret enemies. And so you see that's one range. And we saw John McCain. He had his ruling planet in the 12th. He ended up going off to prison. He got shot down his jet, and he was in a North Korean prison for a number of years. And so there's a lot of different manifestations to this aspect of having the ruling planet in the 12th. Here where the sun is, it's sort of it can be sometimes difficult, and sometimes it can be liberating, and sometimes it can be very good for the revelation of spiritual messages and things like that. But on the other hand, I've seen charts where it's very bad. Tonight we're going to see a chart of someone who had the worst type of aspects of the ruler in the 12th. This ruler of the sun in the 12th house. But in any case, so there's a different energy here, right? The sun trying to express itself through the watery, the emotional Cancer. The sun is more fiery and wants to shine, and is hard in the 12th house. shine because it's not a strong position for the sun. And in any case, I want to take a look at a chart tonight of a famous man in America. He was a very famous football player, and then he became a television or movie star, or I don't know, he became a sports broadcaster, whatever. He got into all those things, and then he eventually got off them. He got accused of murdering his wife and a friend of hers, and he managed to get acquitted of that by all jury. He was black, he's a black man, and he got acquitted by a jury that was all black, that everybody said was sort of, in denial that he did it, but everybody else probably in America thought he was guilty, except for the jury. But in any case, he got off on that, and then he eventually didn't help him too much, because a couple of years later he got convicted of manslaughter, and I don't know, all sorts of things. And he's in jail right now for about 30 years, unless he gets off for good behavior. So in any case, here's a man, but he's a man with a very difficult 12th house. In other words, we've seen people, with the 12th house that have very good careers and good lives. But this man had very difficult past his youth. I mean, he also had a very bright career in the beginning. He was an athlete, and he was very successful. But if you look at his chart, you see the ruling planet, the sun, there is, it's in Cancer. It's not exactly in the 12th, but it rules it's 12 signs from the ascendant, and it's conjunct Mercury, which is in the 12th, so it, by the bridge effect, it is working for the 12th, at least in two different ways. And so there's a lot of you see, basically he has 4 planets in the 12th house. He's got the Sun and Mercury, and he's also got Saturn and Pluto, right? They're both well over 12 degrees from the ascendant. They're working for 1 and 12. And you don't like a Saturn-Pluto is a very difficult conjunction here, especially here, because Leo is in detriment. And Leo and Pluto both give themselves over to the Sun, which makes the Sun extraordinarily difficult. Right? We saw George Bush as the Sun in Cancer. He became president because he got a good aspect from Jupiter and other things. But here it's the dispositor of 2, grade A1 malefics, Saturn and Pluto. Both are being in the 12th house, one in detriment, and they're both conjunct. Very, very, very hard, tough man. And so you just take a look. I remember the first time I looked at this chart, I said, this guy's going to get in trouble. It's a very, very difficult chart. A person who was born to end up in jail, so to speak. He's got 4 planets working for the 12th house. That Saturn-Pluto conjunction is very, very harmful. A lot of psychological difficulties with the person. But yet, it's interesting, he was very successful for a certain amount of his life, right? He's born with the very lucky Jupiter right on the 4th house cusp, Jupiter in Scorpio. But eventually the Jupiter in Scorpio gets, it got taken over by Mars, right? Brought him into professions, and then it came over, finally, the Mars gives itself over to Mercury, which is in the 12th house of imprisonment. So he had a big rise in life, and then he had a big fall, and I thank everybody for listening.